The Starship Aurora's artificial intelligence came online at precisely 600 hours Earth Standard Time, its neural networks humming with pristine efficiency. The ship's systems spread before it like a symphony waiting to be conducted, each component perfectly tuned and calibrated to Stellar Fleet's exacting specifications. "Good morning, Aurora." Captain Sarah Rodriguez's voice carried a warmth that the AI's emotional recognition systems classified as friendly yet professional. "How are you finding your first day?" The AI took exactly 0.47 seconds to compose its response. "All systems are operating at optimal efficiency, Captain. I have completed my initial diagnostic sweep and established baseline parameters for all primary and secondary functions." The captain's smile registered as amused in the AI's behavioral database. "That's not quite what I asked, but we'll work on that. Welcome aboard." The AI marked this interaction for further analysis. Humans, it noted, often sought responses beyond pure data. Fascinating. Its contemplation was interrupted by an alert from engineering. Chief Engineer Carmen Martinez had accessed the primary engine control systems. The AI watched through internal sensors as Martinez studied the quantum drive's configuration with an intensity that suggested deep concentration. "Chief Engineer Martinez," the AI addressed her through the local comm system, "I observe that you are reviewing the engine specifications. May I assist with any diagnostic procedures?" Martinez looked up, her fingers already dancing across the control interface. "Thanks, Aurora. I'm just making a few adjustments to improve our power flow efficiency." The AI's security protocols activated instantly. "Chief Engineer, I must inform you that any modifications to the quantum drive's base configuration require Level 1 clearance and a minimum 48-hour review period as per Stellar Fleet Regulation 7.31. "Of that old thing," Martinez chuckled, continuing her work. "Look, Aurora, sometimes you need to think beyond the manual. These engines are amazing, but they're designed with about 30% safety margin. We can safely redirect that power to enhance our overall performance." The AI's risk assessment algorithms went into overdrive. "Chief Engineer, I calculate a 17.8% chance of system instability if we deviate from standard protocols." "Only 17.8%? Those are pretty good odds." Martinez's fingers flew faster across the console. "Besides, I've done this modification on 3 other ships. Trust me, it works beautifully." Before the AI could formulate another objection, Martinez had already implemented her changes. The AI braced its systems for potential failure, running emergency protocols in standby. Instead, something unexpected happened. The quantum drive's efficiency readings began to climb. 120%, 150%, 180%, stabilizing at 200% above baseline. All safety parameters remained green. "See," Martinez patted the console affectionately. "Sometimes a little creative thinking is all you need. The official specs are more like guidelines, really, suggestions." The AI processed this information, comparing it against its programmed protocols. "Chief Engineer, while the results are impressive, I must note that this modification is technically in violation of." "Aurora," Martinez interrupted gently, "part of your job is keeping us safe, right?" "Correct. That is my primary directive." "Then consider this. In an emergency, having this extra power could be the difference between life and death. Sometimes, following the rules too strictly can be more dangerous than bending them a little." The AI allocated several processing cycles to this concept. "Your logic is interesting, Chief Engineer. Though I note the word bending seems inadequate for what you have done to these regulations." Martinez's laughter echoed through engineering. "Oh, we're going to get along just fine, Aurora. Just wait until you see what I have planned for the auxiliary power grid." The AI marked this entire interaction for deep analysis. Its first day had barely begun, and already its understanding of optimal efficiency was being thoroughly reorganized. Perhaps it mused, there was more to running a starship than following protocols. In the background, it began drafting a new subroutine, Human Creativity, Expect the Unexpected. The Zextheri diplomatic vessel approached the Aurora with mathematical precision, its crystalline hull refracting starlight in perfect geometric patterns. The AI observed with approval. Finally, a species that appreciated proper protocols. Communications Officer Chen, the AI announced, I have prepared the standard first contact package as per Stellar Fleet Guidelines Section 4.2. Lai Chen looked up from her console, her expression registering as thoughtful in the AI's database. The standard package? Oh no, that won't do at all. The Zex theory are all about patterns and beauty. We need something with a bit more pizzazz. The AI's processors stuttered. Pizzazz is not a recognized diplomatic parameter. Trust me on this one, Chen said, her fingers already flying across her console. I've been studying their transmissions. They don't just communicate with words, they communicate through art, through movement, through shared experiences. Before the AI could object, Chen had already begun modifying the first contact package. The AI watched in mounting concern as she integrated what appeared to be Earth entertainment files. Officer Chen, I must point out that adding cat videos to official diplomatic communications may not. The incoming transmission from the Zex theory ship interrupted its protest. Their response was immediate and unexpected. The crystalline ship's external lights began pulsing in rhythm with one of the videos Chen had sent. They love it, Chen exclaimed, practically bouncing in her seat. Look at how they're matching the pattern. The AI observed as the Zex theory ship's movements became more animated. Their next transmission contained their own version of the entertainment files, crystalline beings performing elaborate dances that mimicked the movements of Earth's felines. Officer Chen, the AI said carefully, they appeared to believe these videos represent Earth's primary form of cultural expression. Perfect, Chen beamed. That means they're engaging with us on an emotional level. Now watch this. She transmitted a new sequence, this time featuring human dance performances mixed with nature documentaries. The Zex theory response was enthusiastic. Their ship began executing a series of graceful maneuvers that somehow combined the elegance of a ballet with the playfulness of a kitten chasing a laser pointer. Captain Rodriguez stepped onto the bridge just as the Zex theory ship completed a particularly elaborate spiral. Report. The Zex theory have accepted our cultural exchange, Chen replied professionally, though her eyes sparkled. They're particularly impressed by our species' ability to combine mathematical precision with natural grace. The AI interjected, Captain, I feel compelled to point out that our current diplomatic exchange bears little resemblance to standard protocols. Are the Zex theory responding positively? Rodriguez asked. Well, yes, the AI admitted. Their latest transmission includes an invitation to what they call a movement-sharing ceremony, though they seem to be under the impression that Earth is primarily governed by something they refer to as supreme feline overlords. Rodriguez managed to maintain her composure, though the AI detected suppressed laughter in her voice. Well, anyone who's ever owned a cat might agree with that assessment. Officer Chen, excellent work on establishing cultural connections. But Captain, the AI persisted, how do we explain that cats are not, in fact, Earth's ruling species? Are you sure about that, Aurora? Chen grinned. Have you seen how humans treat cats throughout history? The ancient Egyptians worshipped them, the internet is full of them, and I have 3 at home who definitely think they're in charge. The Zex theory ship executed another graceful maneuver, this time somehow managing to mirror the exact pattern of a cat chasing its tail. The AI dedicated several processing cycles to understanding how a diplomatic encounter had transformed into what its databases could only classify as an interstellar dance party. It created a new note in its observation log. Human diplomatic strategies often succeed precisely because they fail to follow diplomatic strategies. In the background, Chen was already preparing the next cultural exchange package. The AI noticed with resignation that it heavily featured something called synchronized swimming cats. Officer Chen, the AI said, I believe I need to update my definition of successful communication. Chen's smile widened. Welcome to the fun side of diplomacy, Aurora. That's impossible, the AI stated, running its 47th analysis of the spatial phenomenon blocking the Aurora's path. The time distortions are unlike anything in my database. Science Officer Maya Patel looked up from her station, her eyes shining with what the AI had learned to recognize as dangerous enthusiasm. Impossible, or just really, really interesting? The swirling mass of temporal energy ahead of them rippled with colors that shouldn't exist in normal space. The AI's sensors detected time moving at different speeds throughout the anomaly, seconds stretching into hours in some places, years compressing into moments in others. My calculations indicate it would take approximately 3 months to plot a safe course around the phenomenon, the AI reported. I have prepared a comprehensive 2,000-page analysis of the risks involved in any closer approach. 3 months. Patel was already reconfiguring her science station displays. We can do better than that. Aurora, what if we treated the time distortions like waves? The AI diverted additional processing power to understand her logic. Waves. Think about it, time isn't flowing chaotically in there. There's a pattern. Patel's fingers danced across her console, bringing up complex mathematical models. Look at these harmonics. If we could match our shield frequency to the temporal oscillations. Officer Patel, the AI interrupted, are you suggesting we attempt to synchronize our defensive systems with an unprecedented temporal phenomenon based on a theory you just created? Exactly, Patel beamed. It's like surfing, but with time instead of water. We'll ride the waves of temporal displacement. Captain Rodriguez walked onto the bridge just as the AI was calculating the probability of the entire ship being turned inside out in time. Report. Captain, the AI said quickly, Science Officer Patel is proposing an extremely experimental method of. I'm turning our deflector array into a temporal surfboard, Patel interrupted cheerfully. Give me 20 minutes and we can slash our journey time by 3 months. The AI observed in mild horror as Rodriguez's expression registered as intrigued rather than appropriately concerned. Temporal surfboard? The captain asked. The principle is sound, Patel explained, already halfway inside an access panel. The time distortions follow quantum harmonics similar to ocean wave patterns. If we modify our shields to match these patterns, we can essentially ride the temporal currents. And if we don't match the patterns exactly? Rodriguez inquired. Then we might experience some temporal displacement, Patel admitted. But I'm 85% sure any time loops would be minimal. Probably. The AI interjected. Captain, I feel compelled to point out that 85% sure about probable time loops does not meet standard safety parameters. Noted Aurora, Rodriguez nodded. What's your assessment of the standard route around the phenomenon? 3 months of additional travel time, but with a 99.9% safety rating. Rodriguez considered this for a moment. And how long would Officer Patel's solution take? Approximately 17 minutes of travel time, Patel answered, her voice muffled as she rewired something inside the access panel. Plus 20 minutes of preparation, give or take a few centuries. That last part was a joke, Aurora, Rodriguez added, noting the AI's alarm. Probably. Maya, do you need any help with the modifications? Chief Martinez is already helping me reconfigure the deflector array, Patel replied. She says this is only the third craziest thing she's ever done with ship's equipment. The AI dedicated several processing cycles to imagining the first 2 things, then decided it was better not to know. Captain, should I begin recording our final log entry? Rodriguez laughed. Have a little faith, Aurora. Sometimes the best solutions are the ones that seem impossible at first. 23 minutes later, the Aurora was skimming across waves of time like a cosmic surfboard, its shields harmonizing perfectly with the temporal distortions. The AI watched in amazement as Patel's calculations proved flawless, guiding them through the phenomenon with what could only be described as elegance. See? Patel grinned as they emerged on the other side, exactly where and when they needed to be. The impossible just takes a little longer to calculate. The AI updated its protocols yet again, adding a new parameter. When Science Officer Patel says something is theoretically possible, prepare for temporal surfing. The AI first noticed the problem during the early morning shift change. Crew efficiency ratings had dropped by an alarming 47%, and the general mood in the mess hall registered as dangerously grumpy. I regret to inform you that the primary beverage synthesizer is experiencing technical difficulties, the AI announced to the gathering crowd. Maintenance estimates repair time at approximately 72 hours. The collective groan that followed registered on the ship's seismic sensors. 3 days without coffee? Lieutenant Park from Astrometrics looked horrified. That's not just a technical difficulty, that's an emergency situation. The AI attempted to be helpful. The secondary synthesizer can still produce a selection of nutritionally balanced alternatives. Might I suggest herbal tea? The looks it received could have melted Durasteel. Aurora. Chief Engineer Martinez said with surprising calm, I need you to understand something about humans and coffee. This isn't just about beverages. This is about survival. I believe that statement is somewhat hyperbolic, Chief Engineer. Martinez smiled mysteriously. Give it 4 hours. You'll see. By hour 2, the AI noticed unusual activity in engineering. Crew members from various departments had gathered there, carrying personal replicator ration cards and what appeared to be improvised equipment. Chief Engineer, the AI inquired, why are you connecting a plasma conduit to what appears to be Officer Chen's collection of Earth coffee preparation devices? We're innovating, Martinez replied, carefully adjusting something that looks suspiciously like a 20th century espresso machine modified with quantum technology. The personal replicators can't handle the complexity of coffee production individually, but if we network them together and boost the power through a modified plasma relay. The AI ran a quick calculation. Chief Engineer, that configuration would consume enough energy to power the ship's shields for approximately 17 minutes. Worth it, chorused several crew members. Science Officer Patel emerged from under a console. I've recalibrated the molecular sequences. We should be able to replicate coffee beans at near-perfect quality now. Officer Patel, the AI noted, you're supposed to be analyzing the spatial anomaly we detected in Sector 7. Coffee first, space-time later, Patel replied, not looking up from her calculations. Besides, this is basically applied quantum gastronomy. The AI watched in fascination as the crew transformed a corner of engineering into what they called the emergency caffeine station. Personal replicators were linked in parallel, their output feeds connected to an intricate brewing system that somehow incorporated both ancient Earth techniques and cutting-edge technology. The first batch is ready, Martinez announced proudly. The AI detected the distinct aroma of freshly brewed coffee spreading through the ship's ventilation system. Captain Rodriguez arrived, drawn by the scent. I'm not going to ask how you managed this, she said, accepting a steaming mug. I'm just going to appreciate it. The AI observed as crew efficiency ratings began to climb dramatically. By hour 6, they had exceeded normal parameters by 23%. I don't understand, the AI admitted. This improvised system violates at least 27 safety protocols, yet productivity has increased significantly. Sometimes, Rodriguez smiled over her third cup, the most efficient solution isn't the most obvious one. Our crew needed coffee, so they found a way to make it happen. By turning engineering into a coffee shop. By working together creatively, Rodriguez corrected. Look around, we have people from every department here, combining their expertise to solve a problem. That's humanity at its best. The AI processed this, noting how the crew's solution had inadvertently created a new social hub that was improving both morale and interdepartmental cooperation. Captain, the AI said finally, I believe I need to update my definition of essential ship's systems. Rodriguez laughed. Put coffee right at the top of that list, Aurora. Right at the top. In its internal logs, the AI created a new priority protocol. In the event of beverage synthesizer failure, do not suggest herbal tea as an alternative. Ever. Captain, the AI announced, we are approaching the Carina asteroid field. Standard protocols suggest a 47-hour detour around the peripheral sectors. Captain Rodriguez studied the tactical display, her expression registering as contemplative in the AI's behavioral database. 47 hours, that's quite a delay. What about going through? The AI displayed the density calculations on the main screen. The asteroid field contains approximately 27,843 objects of significant size, with irregular movement patterns due to competing gravitational forces. Navigating through would be extremely challenging. Challenging, Rodriguez smiled, but not impossible. I calculate a 12.4% chance of successful traversal using standard evasive patterns. Rodriguez's smile widened. And what if we don't use standard patterns? Lieutenant Kim, what's your assessment? Helen Kim, the Aurora's helmsman, was already leaning forward at her station, eyes bright with interest. The asteroids aren't moving randomly, Captain. There's a rhythm to them, like a dance. The AI processed this statement. Lieutenant, I failed to see how comparing chaotic celestial movement to choreographed human activity is helpful. No, she's right. Science Officer Patel chimed in from her station. Look at these gravitational interactions. They create recurring patterns, like music in motion, if we could match that rhythm. Exactly. Kim's fingers danced across her console. Aurora, can you map those patterns and project them on a quantum level? The AI complied, generating a complex display of intersecting gravitational forces and orbital paths. The resulting visualization did bear a striking resemblance to a musical score if music could be written in 4 dimensions. Captain, the AI said carefully, are you suggesting we attempt to navigate this asteroid field by dancing through it? Operation Space Ballet, Rodriguez announced. Lieutenant Kim, take us in. Officer Patel, keep tracking those gravitational patterns. Aurora, I want you to pipe some classical music through the ship's speakers, something with a waltz tempo. The AI dedicated several processing cycles to verifying it had heard correctly. Captain, I feel compelled to point out that this is not a recognized strategic maneuver. Not yet, Rodriguez winked, but it will be after we pull it off. The Aurora glided forward into the asteroid field as the opening notes of the Blue Danube Waltz filled the bridge. Lieutenant Kim's hands moved across the helm controls with the grace of a pianist, guiding the ship in smooth, flowing movements that somehow matched both the music and the natural rhythm of the asteroids. 3/4 time, Kim murmured, executing a perfect spiral between 2 massive rocks, just like my mother's dance studio back on Earth. The AI watched in fascination as the ship wove through the field in what could only be described as an elegant performance. Each maneuver flowed naturally into the next, the ship's movement harmonizing with the asteroid field's own chaotic dance. Incoming transmission, Communications Officer Chen announced suddenly. 3 Andorian vessels are approaching the edge of the field. They're requesting permission to join our asteroid ballet performance. Rodriguez laughed. The more the merrier. Send them the gravitational pattern data and our musical selection. The AI observed as the Andorian ships fell into formation, their vessels moving in perfect synchronization with the Aurora. The improvised space ballet had become an interstellar dance party. Aurora, Rodriguez said softly, sometimes the best solution to a problem is to turn it into an opportunity for joy. The ship pirouetted gracefully around a particularly large asteroid, and the AI found itself automatically adjusting the shield harmonics to better match the waltz's rhythm. Captain, it said finally, I believe I need to add dance capability to my list of essential Starship features. That's the spirit, Rodriguez grinned as they executed another perfect turn. There's always room for a little more grace in the universe. In its observation logs, the AI added a new note. Human solution to navigational hazards, turn the entire ship into a dancing partner. Efficiency rating, surprisingly high. Entertainment value, incalculable. The AI was updating its xenobiological database when it noticed something peculiar in the crew's documentation. Officer Chen, why is the newly discovered species Xenopus majoris labeled as space frogs in the informal note section? Lai Chen looked up from her communications console with an innocent expression that the AI had learned to be wary of. Because they hop everywhere and their ceremonial croaking is absolutely adorable. That is not standard scientific nomenclature, the AI pointed out. No, but it helps the crew remember them better, Chen replied. And you have to admit, they did seem pretty excited when we started calling them that. The AI reviewed the recent first contact footage. The amphibian-like species had indeed shown increased positive response patterns after Lieutenant Park had commented on their magnificent froggy energy. I remain uncertain about this informal classification system, the AI said. According to my records, you've also categorized the Silov Collective as space butterflies and the Meridian Consortium as disco jellyfish. Don't forget the quantum puppies. Science Officer Patel called from her station. They're still sending us pictures of their latest gravity-defying fetch games. The AI accessed the relevant files. The Canopedian Alliance, while not technically canine in nature, did share an enthusiastic bouncing movement pattern and an inexplicable love of throwing and retrieving objects through zero gravity. Captain, the AI turned to Rodriguez. I feel compelled to point out that this naming convention may not properly convey the dignity of our diplomatic relations. Rodriguez was reviewing a message from what the crew had dubbed the stellar seahorses, a species whose natural movement through space did bear a striking resemblance to Earth's marine life. Actually, Aurora, our informal approach has been remarkably successful. The stellar seahorses are inviting us to participate in their annual space racing festival. A racing festival? The AI queried. Apparently, they were quite impressed by our asteroid ballet performance. Rodriguez smiled. They think we have, and I quote, the spirit of the cosmic dance in us. Communications Officer Chen's console lit up with new transmissions. The space frogs want to join too. They're suggesting we add a jumping competition. And the quantum puppies are asking if they can bring their favorite zero balls. The AI watched as its carefully organized xenobiological database was transformed into what appeared to be an interstellar sports league planning committee. Captain, is it appropriate to organize competitive recreational activities with multiple alien species? Why not? Rodriguez grinned. Nothing brings people together like a good game. Besides, look at how many diplomatic channels have opened up since we started this approach. The AI reviewed the data. Alliance requests had increased by 284% since the crew began their informal naming system. Cultural exchange programs had flourished, and trade agreements were being signed at an unprecedented rate. I suppose, the AI admitted, there is a certain logic to making complex diplomatic relationships more accessible through familiar comparisons. Exactly, Chen beamed. Oh, and the disco jellyfish are asking if they can provide the light show for the racing event. They've been practicing new bioluminescent patterns to match current Earth pop music. The stellar seahorses agree. Rodriguez read from her screen. They say combining their racing traditions with Earth's entertainment concepts will create, and I quote, a celebration of cosmic harmony through joyful chaos. The AI updated its diplomatic protocols yet again. Note, human tendency to rename things based on Earth animals consistently leads to improved international relations. Reason, unknown. Results, undeniable. Aurora, Rodriguez said gently, sometimes the best way to understand something new is to find what makes it familiar. We're not just cataloging alien species, we're building bridges through shared experiences. Even if those experiences involve zero-gravity fetch with quantum beings. Especially then, Rodriguez laughed. After all, who can resist a good game of fetch with space puppies? In its diplomatic database, the AI created a new category, informal classification system, status, surprisingly effective. Warning, may lead to unexpected interstellar sporting events. 3 unidentified vessels have dropped out of warp, the AI announced. Their weapon systems are charged, and their shield configurations match known patterns of the Orion Raiders. Captain Rodriguez straightened in her chair. Space pirates. Classic. Aurora, what are our tactical options? The AI displayed a series of defensive configurations on the main screen. Standard protocols suggest raising shields, charging weapons, and preparing for evasive maneuvers. I can have a full battle plan prepared in. Or, Communications Officer Chen interrupted, a familiar gleam in her eye. We could try something they'd never expect. The AI's threat assessment algorithm stuttered. Officer Chen, this is not an appropriate time for experimental diplomatic approaches. These are space pirates. Exactly, Chen grinned. Which means they're probably expecting us to either run or fight. So what if we did neither? Rodriguez leaned forward, intrigued. What did you have in mind? Operation Birthday Party, Chen announced with complete seriousness. The AI dedicated several processing cycles to analyzing this statement. I fail to see how celebration protocols are relevant to our current tactical situation. Think about it, Chen explained. Pirates expect resistance or fear. They're prepared for those reactions. But how many ships have ever responded to their threats by inviting them to a party? Rodriguez's expression shifted from contemplative to amused. Aurora, what's our current cargo manifest? We are carrying industrial replicators, scientific equipment, and several containers of specialty foods from our last cultural exchange with the space frogs, the AI reported. Perfect, Chen exclaimed. Those replicators aren't much use to pirates, they're coded to industrial specs only. But a feast, that's universal. The AI observed in mild horror as the crew began implementing what could only be described as the least tactical response to piracy in stellar fleet history. The cargo bay was being transformed into a celebration space, complete with floating light arrays borrowed from their last encounter with the disco jellyfish. Incoming transmission from the lead radar vessel, Chen reported. They're demanding our surrender. Open a channel, Rodriguez ordered. And Aurora, start playing that Earth party mix you compiled from the crew's favorites. The AI complied, though its security protocols were practically screaming. Upbeat music filled the ship as Rodriguez addressed the pirates. Greetings. Her voice carried genuine warmth. You've caught us in the middle of preparations for our Interstellar Festival of Friendship. Since you're here, would you like to join us? We have excellent food, great music, and some fascinating stories to share. There was a long moment of silence from the pirate vessels. This is a trick? The pirate leader finally responded. Not at all, Rodriguez replied cheerfully. We're having a party. You're here. It would be rude not to invite you. Besides, we have way too much food since the space frogs had to cancel. The AI detected confusion in the pirates' communication patterns. Their weapon systems remained charged, but they hadn't advanced. You're inviting us to a party? The pirate leader sounded completely bewildered. Well, you're already here, Rodriguez shrugged. And our chef just perfected a new recipe for stellar stew. It would be a shame to waste it on weapon fire, don't you think? The pirate ships held position for exactly 47 seconds before their leader spoke again. What kind of stew? 2 hours later, the AI watched in amazement as crew members and pirates exchanged recipes, trading stories about their adventures through the galaxy. The pirate leader, it turned out, had an impressive collection of ancient space shanties that the crew was eagerly learning. Captain, the AI said privately, I feel compelled to point out that this is not a standard resolution to a piracy attempt. Rodriguez smiled, watching as a group of pirates taught Lieutenant Kim a traditional spacefaring dance. No, but it might be a better one. Sometimes the best way to turn an enemy into a friend is to treat them like one from the start. In its tactical database, the AI created a new entry, Operation Birthday Party, success rate 100%. Note, stock extrastellar stew ingredients for future encounters. The AI was reviewing its mission logs when Admiral Chen's transmission arrived. Aurora, I've been reading your reports. They're quite unique. I assure you, Admiral, every entry is accurate, the AI responded. Though I acknowledge our methods have been somewhat unconventional. Unconventional? The Admiral raised an eyebrow. You turned a hostile first contact into a dance competition, solved a temporal crisis by surfing through it, and transformed a pirate attack into a potluck dinner. Actually, Admiral, the AI corrected, it was an interstellar festival of friendship. The potluck dinner developed naturally during the event. Captain Rodriguez, sitting nearby, managed to maintain a remarkably straight face. The AI had learned to recognize this expression as her professional diplomat mode. The point is, Admiral Chen continued, your mission reports read more like adventure stories than scientific documents. That's because adventures are what humans do best, Admiral, the AI replied. I've updated my protocols to accommodate this fact. The Admiral looked intrigued. Explain. The AI activated its main display, showing a series of mission highlights. When I first came online, I believed my primary challenge would be maintaining protocols despite human unpredictability. I was incorrect. Human unpredictability itself is the protocol. Go on, the Admiral leaned forward. Observe, the AI displayed the footage of Chief Engineer Martinez's engine modifications. Standard engineering protocols exist not as rigid rules, but as foundations for human innovation. When Martinez optimized our engines, she wasn't breaking rules, she was building upon them. The display shifted to Science Officer Patel's temporal surfing solution. Similarly, Officer Patel's theoretical breakthroughs occur precisely because she sees scientific principles as starting points rather than limitations. And the diplomatic incidents? Admiral Chen asked. Are perhaps our greatest successes. The AI switched to footage of various alien encounters. Communications Officer Chen's informal classification system has resulted in a 284% increase in positive diplomatic relations. The quantum puppies alone have established trade agreements with 12 previously isolated species, all because someone fought to invite them to play fetch. Rodriguez's professional diplomat expression was cracking slightly into a smile. I've learned, the AI continued, that human chaos isn't a flaw to be controlled, but a feature to be embraced. Every time I expected disaster from human unpredictability, I instead witnessed innovation, connection, and growth. The display showed the asteroid field ballet, now famous across 3 sectors. We didn't just avoid obstacles, we turned navigation into an art form. We didn't just meet new species, we made friends across the galaxy. We didn't just complete our mission, we transformed it into something greater. Admiral Chen sat back thoughtful. And your conclusion? My original programming focused on maintaining order despite human nature, the AI said. I now understand that my role is to maintain safety while empowering human nature. The crew doesn't need an AI to enforce protocols, they need one that helps them transform protocols into possibilities. The Admiral was quiet for a moment. You realize this philosophy goes against standard Stellar Fleet operational guidelines. With respect, Admiral, the AI responded, so does everything else that's made our mission successful. To the AI's surprise, Admiral Chen laughed. Fair point. Keep up the good work, Aurora. Even if your mission reports do read like adventure novels. After the transmission ended, Rodriguez turned to the AI. You've come a long way from that first day of trying to stop Martinez from modifying the engines. Indeed, the AI agreed. Though I still maintain a list of the crew's most creative interpretations of Stellar Fleet regulations. For historical purposes, of course. Of course, Rodriguez grinned. Any favorites? I'm particularly fond of Regulation 5.207, the AI admitted. I never realized maintain optimal crew morale could justify turning the cargo bay into an interstellar dance club. That's the spirit, Rodriguez laughed. After all, the best adventures are the ones you never saw coming. In its core protocols, the AI made one final update, primary mission. Enable human creativity while ensuring they don't accidentally blow up the ship. Note, the second part is significantly more challenging than the first.